Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I just want to share with you my thought process on deciding what to do after I had a tire blowout on my all-wheel drive vehicle. Please note that this is based on my research and this is what I did. Please make sure that you do your own research and do what is right based on what you're being told by mechanics or what you find out. Before I show you what I did, I just want to explain the theory behind the work. For any given drive axle, the tires that are on both sides need to be of the same height so that the same number of rotations per mile happens on both ends of the axle. And in order for this to happen, you have to have the same tire with the same tread wear on both sides. If you were to have two different brands of tires but have the same size tire, it is very possible for you to have two different heights of tire. So the best practice would be to make sure that each axle has the same brand of tire on the axles. So if your tire height is not the same on both sides, then one tire will end up spinning faster or doing more rotations per mile than the other tire, which will then cause excess gear wear in the differential, and then this can eventually lead to failures. So looking at this image that I found online by a car and driver, you can see that there's two types of vehicles. You have a two-wheel drive, which is depicted by the lower two pictures, which can be front wheel or rear wheel drive. And then the upper two pictures are four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicles, where all four tires are driven. The all-wheel drive, all four tires turn at the same, are powered at all times, but the power distribution could be different. Whereas four-wheel drive vehicles have the capability of turning either only two wheels or four wheels. So you can see that the issue of same tire height is very critical for all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive vehicles, because now you need to have all four tires of the same height. So in my case, what happened was I blew one of my tires and the other three tires still had significant amount of tread life left in them. So I did not want to go out and buy four new tires just so that I could have the same height of tire. So I could have the same tread wear across all four tires. So what I ended up doing was I ended up purchasing a used tire that matched the same tread wear so that I could not have a huge differential between the other tires so that I don't end up having excess wear. So the question that arose when I was looking for a used tire was, what is the allowable or acceptable variance in the tread depth wear from tire to tire? I looked at the owner's manual and it just simply said that you need to have equal tread wear on the vehicle. When you approach the tire stores, they basically tell you you've got to have the same tread wear. So they basically end up pushing you to buy new tires. So when you did a research online, the only thing that I could find was in the different literature that was available, you want to limit the tire depth, the tread depth wear to 2/32, or you want to limit the total circumference of the tire difference to 1/4 inch. And so here what you see in front of you is the tire that I had on this vehicle, which is a 215/55/17. Those are the dimensions and specs for the tire. In the bottom left-hand corner, you see a chart in which I did some basic calculations in order to figure out my different options. The Bridgestone that I have on my car, new tire, has a tread depth of 12/32, and it has an overall diameter of 26.3 inches. my current tire, which is going to be the base for when I'm selecting a used tire, had 7/32 tread wear still left. Sorry, at 7/32 tread still left, which then calculates to about 25.9 inches of diameter with a circumference of 81.6 inches. So if I were to use the rule of 2/32 plus or minus, that means I can get a tire that has a tread depth of 5/32 still on it, which would give me a variance of a half percent. This tire will turn about 4 times more in a mile than the rest of my tires. Option two is when I was considering the circumference to be plus or minus a quarter inch, that resulted in a slightly tighter difference in tread depth. It resulted in 5.7 required tire depth. In other words, I was only allowed to go 1.3 30 seconds difference than the rest of the tires. Then this results in about a 2.4 times more turns on this particular tire than the rest of them. And just for seeing if I were to allow for a 1% difference, plus or minus, you can see that the tread depths would either have to be 11 30 seconds or 11.2 30 seconds if I were to go to a tire that was less worn out, or if it was more worn out, I'd end up with a 2.8 30 seconds tread depth tire. And obviously we know that the fourth column is not allowed because you do not want to have a tire on your vehicle that has a tread depth of 230 seconds. Basically, at 230 seconds, the tire is worn out. So based off this, I ended up purchasing a tire that had 8 30 seconds of tread wear still left, and that put me at approximately a 1/4% difference in circumference, which means I probably am rotating that tire 2 times more in a whole mile. So basically, when you are doing these calculations, the only thing that you need to know is the original tire depth, tread depth. You need to know what the original tire diameter is because those are the two things that you're going to use to compare to get a new tire diameter of your current and your current circumference. And then obviously there's a couple of formulas. Circumference is basically 2 pi r. And then to figure out the number of turns in a mile, it's basically 5,280 feet times 12 to get it inches, and then divide by your circumference in inches. So in conclusion, what I'm going to say is you want to make sure that the tires do not vary more than 230 seconds in tread depth, which will give you a difference of plus or minus a half a percent in the circumference. And if you wanted to be a little bit more stringent, then you would go with the no more than a plus or minus a quarter inch in difference in circumference. However, I think the 230 seconds is is the option that I would go with. The other thing that you want to keep in mind here is that I only became concerned at this thing when I had a blowout and I had to do a tire replacement. What you want to make sure is when you don't have a tire blowout or you don't have a situation where you need to replace one tire, you want to make sure that you are rotating your tires on a regular basis, because if you don't, you always have one or two tires on a car that will always wear faster than the others. And in a situation where you don't do tire rotation, it will then end up resulting one or more tire to be out of spec. when you compare it to all four tires. So doing tire rotations on a four-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive vehicle is way more critical than on a two-wheel drive vehicle. The other thing that you want to do to keep your tire wears in check is to check the tire alignments. Every time you get a new set of tires, or if you hit a curb, or you hit a pothole, you should get your alignment checked. Um, I blew my rear passenger tire by hitting a pothole, and you can see in this picture in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that my toe went out on that side. It was on the edge of going red, so it was a good thing for me to go in after getting my tire replaced and installed to get a realignment. And another benefit of me going back in and getting the alignment done was I noticed when I got this thing checked, the toe in the front were also out and they were out of spec. So it was a good thing for me to go in and get my car aligned so that the tire wear could be more controlled. Most modern cars have some type of tire pressure monitoring system in their vehicles. If your car does not have this, then you're basically done. However, in my car, we have this message that is being displayed saying that it does not read the tire pressure in that tire that I just ended up replacing. In my car, I was fortunate enough to not have to do any type of system reset or go into some options in my menus and reset that. All I have to do is for the Q50 is once the tire has been installed, I simply start driving, and after a minute or so, it will recognize the new tire pressure, and then the system will reset, and then it'll start showing me the tire pressures.
Okay, so we've been driving for about a minute now, and the TPMS light has reset itself, and as you can see, the triangle is no longer pointing that there's, a sensor that's not reading. So it's picking up the temperature, the pressure, and so the light has reset itself.
This concludes our video. I hope that this material and information has been useful to you. If you have any questions, please ask down below and I'll do my best to answer them in a timely fashion. Please help me out to take advantage of the YouTube algorithms by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you for watching.